Now, is there friction, do you think, between Prince Edward and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor? We say it's a friendly face. Edward was the first visitor to go round and see Andrew at his temporary home, Wood Farm, but we understand it was a quiet word in his troublesome brother's ear to say, can you hurry up, get out of Wood Farm and start your new life in Marsh Farm? But why was Edward sent round of all people?
Well, I think he was sent round because he wanted to use Wood Farm along with Sophie for their Easter break. And so I think whoever it was that said, look, go and have a quiet word. And of course, needless to say, Andrew, being the Andrew that he is, has decided to snub him as well. I mean, he makes no friends, not even in his own family does he make friends. It would have been very easy for him to have vacated that place and move into the one he's supposed to be moving into, the one that a lot of money has been spent on, quite a bit of it taxpayers' money as well has been spent on that.
Yeah.
And it had been very easy for him to do that.
Just to put, I'm not sure, the palace would say to that, they're saying that, if the king's funding it all. They'll get very funny on that.
What the king, well, there's still security and everything else, which is what we're paying for. That's part and parcel of the whole Sandringham scenario. So you've still got to look after him, no matter what.
I find it astonishing that they've given us this kind of Easter deadline months and months ago. They said, we think it will be by Easter. We're seeing reports, we're seeing photographs of Andrew walking from Wood Farm to Marsh Farm. We think he is now officially in Marsh Farm. He's left it right up to the end, hasn't he?
Right up till the end, and it does feel just like classic Andrew at this point. He's always dragged his heels on all of this, but for it to be the Easter deadline, and then, as you say, there are reports that he has now left, but it appears to have been on Easter Monday. So, by the way, just ruling out any family that may have wanted to stay at Wood Farm, which they often do around Easter, Edward and Sophie in particular. And interesting you say that Edward was the first royal to visit him. He was also the first royal to speak publicly about all the drama surrounding the latest Epstein files and Andrew's relationship to that earlier this year when he spoke in Dubai about it and said we need to remember the victims. So in terms of there being friction within the family, you're exactly right. There's surely friction between all of them with Andrew at this point. And to your point, it's interesting that when he is so friendless and alone, he really is in exile now, that he wouldn't be doing everything he could to keep those very, very few people that really they have a duty of care to help look after him. They're his siblings, they're his family. It's interesting that he's not sort of doing things that will keep them closer to him, as opposed to dragging his heels on moving out of Wood Farm when clearly there was a push for him to do that much earlier.
I think it just underlines the arrogance of the man.
Yes.
So he's been arrogant all his life. Why is it going to change now?
Charlie, you've reported on the royals for, I don't say, but many, many years.
Careful.
Be careful. But Edward and Andrew, have they ever been close? Because they're kind of the later children, aren't they? So
well, they were the ones who came along when the Queen was ensconced as the monarch. And, everybody talked about, the second family as opposed to Charles and Anne early on. I mean, when you see early pictures of them, they looked as if they were close, but I'm not so sure that they're that close now as they used to be. As Bronte's just said, I don't think Andrews is close to any members of the royal family. I mean, you just got to look at the pictures of him walking alone, in Sandringham, and he's got nothing. There is nothing in his life to look forward to. There is nothing he's going to get. I was reading something the other day about the type of food that he's going to have to get delivered from Waitrose or Sainsbury's or whatever, Tesco's or whatever it is, and it's got to be done a week in advance to give the cook or the chef time, to prepare those meals. So he liked to eat in between those meals with whatever was laid on. Well, he's not going to be able to do that anymore. I don't think the fridge is going to be big enough.
And I don't think people will have a whole lot of sympathy for that. I mean, it's sort of been described as exile and prison-esque, but it's a very nice setup. And also, to that point as well, there's this conversation about him dragging his heels on moving to Marsh Farm. Wood Farm, Marsh Farm is absolutely beautiful, and also they've done all this work to it. There's luxury carpets being taken in. It's obviously been made more secure, but it's not like he's downgrading to, a really shabby apartment somewhere. It's a really nice place. So it speaks to the arrogance of his situation that he wasn't just doing it at this point. But make friends with your family, do something to sort of keep them in the fold with you.
So what do we think? Is Edward like the new royal family henchman? Is he going round to kind of, tell Andrew and read the riot act to Andrew? Or is it the case that they always book Wood Farm, him and Sophie and the family, and they were forced to stay. It was the Gardens house, and this was effectively a holiday let that you can rent if you have enough money. It's about £4,000, but if you have enough money. But he was effectively shoved in this kind of overflow family house.
It's also beautiful. I saw the photos online because I wanted to check when it seemed that Edward was a bit annoyed about this because he has been sent in as the henchman, which is quite an image, isn't it? Prince Edward as the family henchman. But when I saw that, I thought, well, what does this house look like that he's been forced to go to for his Easter break? Also a stunning home. So I think there's
none of those properties at Sandringham are rubbish homes, and also I'd be very, very surprised if Andrew had to put his hand in his pocket to fork out £4,000 for it. I'm sure he reached a good deal, like free.
But with Edward going to see Andrew, it does make sense, I suppose, if one of the royals had to make contact to move this along, because I think we're joking about how they are all nice houses. Of course they are. Of course it seems trivial, but I think it's because the Andrew drama and the stories about it have been rolling along for months and months and months, and one of the ways to let that sort of just stop so we can move forward and wait for whatever the next step in the process will be is when there is a resolution on his housing, because it is temporary at the moment, or as apparently he has moved into Marsh Farm. But I think that's why the optics of it, and particularly the royals would be very aware of that, is let's make this move permanent, draw the line under the sand. We can move on then a little bit until whatever is going to happen next happens, but at least then he's settled down somewhere. And who else would go but Edward? The king can't be seen.
Why can't the king go around and tell him?
Because imagine the photos.
Borrow a cup of sugar.
Yeah, I can understand.
Or William,
completely.
send William round.
Oh yeah, that'll be cracking.
I think I think in terms of the quiet word, I don't think it would be such a quiet word if it was coming from one of them. But I think that also, again, they're just giving him a wide berth at the moment. I don't think it helps anyone to be seen to be particularly close with him.
They're also giving him a wide berth because we've still got a lot more to come out in this Epstein saga. There's going to be more and more stories about him and his former wife involved with Epstein. And no matter what it is, it's going to make headlines round the world.
They should have sent Princess Anne.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
You would listen to her. If she got in there and said, you need to move, I'd be out of there within 5 minutes. You can tell she'd lay down the law.
But it's interesting that that Edward is the first person. Okay, the first royal. We didn't get a picture, unfortunately, but he did go round. But there may have been others. But I'm led to believe only Edward has been to see him. There's been a few other, I think the vicar, local vicar and a head of the household has popped in to see him, but only Edward from the members of the family. No Beatrice, no Eugenie. Who knows where Sarah Ferguson is?
They've got their own problems anyway, Beatrice and Eugenie. So I can't see them scuttling up to Sandringham to see their dad. I mean, it's still quite raw for those two girls.
It feels like it's been, because we have been speaking about this so much, it feels like a really long time since the Epstein files were released and and that Andrew's arrest happened. But really, as you say, it's not been that long and it is still raw. And particularly for the Yorks at this time, it's very much a laying low situation, and for the princesses, they know that they need to just, focus on their families at the moment and stay out of the public eye, and that's the right thing, because this scandal engulfing their parents has been extremely damaging to everyone involved. And so I think that it makes sense that they haven't been up there, because that would be quite a big story if you saw, especially if we had photos of them up there. But they've probably been I assume they've been checking in with their father at some point, because it is their father still. But I can see completely why all the other royals have been giving him such a wide berth.
But before we move on, because we've got a very busy week, there's lots of things have happened this week. Before we move on, Charlie, who do you think Andrew listens to?
Nobody. Nobody. He doesn't listen to anybody. I mean, clearly doesn't listen to anybody, or else we wouldn't have had the Newsnight interview for a start off, because there were people around there who were saying to him, this is not a great idea. Yes, I know Beatrice was saying, yeah, we'll it's okay to do it, and I'm assuming Fergie was for it as well. But he doesn't listen to people. I mean, people will tell him something and it'll go in one ear and out the other, especially if it's a controversial matter.